Hi, boys and girls. This is going to be a little practice for us using a secondhand source. So I want you to realize that I said at the beginning, this is a secondhand source. And the person that we are going to be reading about is this little girl here. She's not a little girl anymore, but her name is Ruby Bridges. And this is a secondhand source, like I said. So this is an article that's written about Ruby, but it's written by someone that is not Ruby, or that someone that was not there to experience this time in her life. So let's read this article. I'm going to read it to you. All that I ask is that you follow along with me. And then at the end, you will have an assignment yourself where you answer two questions from me. And the first question is going to be, what is the author's purpose for writing this? Why did he write this? And who did he want to be able to read this article? And then my second question is going to be, was he successful in meeting the purpose? He wrote this for a reason, and I want you to decide, do you think he was successful? So you follow along with me, I'll read, and I want you to remember, this is not going to be as personal as something that's written by Ruby herself, because this is written by someone else who had to do research in order to be able to write this. So let me get ready. Okay, I'm ready now. And you just follow along with me. At the tender age of 6, Ruby Bridges advanced the cause of civil rights in November 1960 when she became the first African American student to integrate an elementary school in the South. Born on September 8, 1954, Bridges was the oldest of 5 children for Lucille and Abon Bridges, farmers in Tylertown, Mississippi. So we just learned about her parents, and she had 4 siblings. When Ruby was 2 years old, her parents moved their family to New Orleans in Louisiana in search of better work opportunities. Ruby's birth year coincided with the U.S. Supreme Court's landmark ruling in the Brown versus Board of Education of the Topeka, Kansas, which ended racial segregation in public schools. So before this time, white students went to one school and black students went to another school. They were not supposed to go to the same school. They were not supposed to be at the same place together. But at this time, when Ruby was growing up and going to school, something happened and it made it a rule so that white people can go to school, well, that black people can go to school where white people go to school. So that means the schools were not supposed to be segregated anymore. It means they weren't supposed to have all one school of white kids and all one school of the black kids. Nonetheless, Southern states continued to resist integration, and in 1959, Ruby attended a segregated New Orleans kindergarten. A year later, however, a federal court ordered Louisiana to desegregate. The school district created entrance exams for African American students to see whether they could compete academically at the all-white school. Ruby and 5 other students passed the exam. So what this paragraph just said is that Ruby or any other African American student who wanted to go to this school had to take an exam or a test before they could even be accepted into it. And only Ruby and 5 other students passed this exam. Her parents were torn about whether to let her attend the all-white William Frantz Elementary School, a few blocks from their home. Her father resisted, fearing for his daughter's safety. Her mother, however, wanted Ruby to have the educational opportunities that her parents had been denied. Meanwhile, the school district dragged its feet, delaying her admittance until November 14th. So that meant the school district was just taking its time. They weren't really working hard to make sure that she could be admitted on time. 2 of the other students decided not to leave their school at all. All the other 3 were sent to the all-white McDonough Elementary School. Ruby and her mother were escorted by 4 federal marshals to the school every day that year. She walked past crowds screaming vicious slurs at her. Undeterred, she later said she only became frightened when she saw a woman holding a black baby doll in a coffin. She spent her first day in the principal's office due to the chaos created as angry white parents pulled their children from school. Ardent segregationists withdrew their children permanently. Barbara Henry, a white Boston native, was the only teacher willing to accept Ruby, and all year she was a class of one. Ruby ate lunch alone and sometimes played with her teacher at recess, but she never missed a day of school that year. So, from this paragraph, what I want you to learn is that instead of these parents being okay with Ruby going to school with their white children, they decided to take their white children out of the school because they didn't want Ruby to be in class with them. So I'm not a fan of these parents. They didn't want to keep their children there. They just wanted Ruby to be alone and not be with their children. While some families supported her bravery and some Northerners sent money to aid her family, others protested throughout the city. The Bridges family suffered for their courage. Abin lost his job, and grocery stores refused to sell to Lucille, her mother. Her sharecropping grandparents were evicted from the farm where they had lived for a quarter century. So they lived there for 25 years, and because of Ruby going to this new school and causing all of this uproar and chaos, her grandparents got kicked out of the farm from where they were living. Over time, other African American students enrolled. Many years later, Ruby's 4 nieces would also attend. In 1964, artist Norman Rockwell celebrated her courage with a painting of that first day entitled "The Problem We All Live With." Ruby graduated from a desegregated high school, became a travel agent, married, and had 4 sons. She was reunited with her first teacher, Miss Henry, in the mid-1990s, and for a time, the pair did speaking engagements together. That means they would give presentations together. Ruby later wrote about her early experiences in 2 books and received the Carter G. Woodson Book Award. A lifelong activist for racial equality, in 1999, Ruby established the Ruby Bridges Foundation to promote tolerance and create change through education. In 2000, she was made an honorary deputy marshal in a ceremony in Washington, D.C. So, from this article, I hope that you were able to realize that someone else was writing this story about Ruby and Ruby's experiences and Ruby's family. This wasn't written by Ruby's mom. It wasn't written by Ruby herself. It was, in fact, written by this woman right here, Deborah Michaels, and it was written in 2015. So this article is fairly recent. It's only about 5 or 6 years old. So this was not written by Ruby. This woman clearly had to do some research to gather all of the information that she wrote about. Now, tomorrow, I will be sharing with you a little bit from this story called Through My Eyes, and it is by Ruby Bridges. So today, this was a second-hand source of information. This article was written about Ruby Bridges, but Ruby Bridges was not the author. So now that you have listened to this video, you're going to X out of here, and there's going to be a red link right underneath this video. And there, you're going to click on it, and you're going to respond to the 2 discussion questions that I have for you.